they are screwing the Boston Bruins as multiple players on this team have shown a lack of effort, which has resulted in the Boston Bruins dropping some games that they put in a very good effort. We are going to break that down here, as well as going over multiple updates surrounding this team here at the end of this video. So you'll want to make sure to stick around at the end of the video, and you won't want to miss it. But before we do jump into this video, though, ladies and gentlemen, I ask you one favor. If you haven't already, be sure to hit the sub button. Join me here on the channel. We're covering everything Boston Bruins, and we have a lot of stuff, especially the way that this team has been playing as of late is causing quite a ruckus. And like I said, we're going to be breaking it all down here throughout these videos, but let's get straight into it, because obviously going off last night's game, I was going to make a post game, but I needed to sit back and think about this game a little. I wanted to see what was said about this game in specific as well from the players and staff of this team. I really did see the reaction I wanted from this team. However, that does no excuse for what we've been seeing over the last few games, which has caused quite a bit of stress for us Bruins fans. Now, I wanted to pull up the hockey stat card because in this 7-5 loss from the Ducks, you would see this, without looking at the score, you would think this Bruins team absolutely dominated this game. They won the game extremely heavily on a heavy score. That was not the case. A 7-5 loss, you see, but you're going through the amount of positivity here from this, from your top two lines, your top six, even some of your top defensemen. I say some because as we look towards the bottom, you see Charlie McAvoy, Mason Lohrei dominate the lower part of this. And I'm not even going to consider Andrew Peeke and Nikita Zadorov in that. Their offense and their play also made up for it. But when you're going down to the bottom, where you regularly see Charlie McAvoy and Mason Lohrei here this season, if this doesn't say anything else, then something has to change. I don't know what does. Because as we've been watching these games, you're seeing this Bruins team be, I'm not even kind of over-exaggerating here. They've been one of the best offensive teams that we have seen this season. And having it come down to these games where you're losing 7-5, a game you should never lose. If you're scoring 5 goals, you should never lose. You're seeing these games come down to this. It is a result of one thing in specific. And you may say goaltending, and that's not even the case. It is the defense. The defense has not been able to whatsoever hold down a lead at all. And that does come down to likely, and mostly, that first line of Mason Lohrei and Charlie McAvoy. And we do have a few quotes here. We're not kind of going across on these without looking at what we've seen Charlie McAvoy say. And he said, "This is devastating. The way we're losing these games is it's killing us. We're fighting so hard and we just can't stop beating ourselves." So yeah, it's pretty defeating right now. But when you're looking at this quote, of course, that's what you're going to say. That's a kind of stock answer for this. But the amount of frustration that I have watching Charlie McAvoy and Mason Lohrei play on the same line and ultimately give up any opportunity or any lead that the Boston Bruins get, I simply go bananas watching these games. And especially last night when you're seeing a major comeback from the Bruins, getting 2 goals in, what was it, a minute and a half. Very, very, good game that we saw come back, and they've done that in just about every game, and we've seen there's been 1-goal games and games that they should be winning, but due to the defense, it has not happened, very, very often this season. And from an outsider perspective, you may look at the goaltending stats, or fans of other teams may look at our goaltending stats and say, hey, this is on Swayman and this is on Korpisalo, because it has not been whatsoever. Their stats are heavily inflated due to this defense, but they've given us options and opportunities to win these games. They've shown that they can come out here, make the big saves, and the Bruins need to capitalize going down to the other end of the ice. And they have simply not been able to do that. And on what is almost, every single game, we're seeing this stat line very similar. The Bruins absolutely, dominate in shots. On the face-off job, they dominate. Power play, getting good here, 2 for 2 in this game. But when you're seeing 42 shots, 5 goals, that's very good. But you're seeing 30 shots, 7 goals. That really goes to show that if the goalie is not having the greatest game, your defense needs to lock it down. But if your goalie is having a good game, it shows. There's an evident hole on the defense. And that's frankly what it's been. That's what we've been seeing is the lack of the ability to withhold goals. And, for the offense, I'll stick for that a little bit because it was very good. Like I said, the top 6 here, Casey Middlestat, Morgan Geekie getting 2, David Pastrnak with a goal, Mason Lohrei getting 1 as well. It was a positive outcome from here. But when you're looking at how this team has really transitioned from having a lead or, being tied or dominating the offense, they completely forget how to play defense. And that does come down to this first line. There's been no excuse for it. And when you're looking at how Marco Sturm kind of did react to this game, he said, the roster we have, I have not too many changes will be made. You could tweak a few things, but that's about it. I don't think too many changes can be made. Let's be honest. So the guys in here, including me, the guys in the room, we have to fix it. So when you're looking at how kind of this reaction did, he's kind of admitting that the Bruins don't really have what it takes to be able to change up the lineup as much as they would, which is a big reason as to why he is coming out and making these moves internally, at a very small pace. And we haven't seen him yet move Mason Lohrei down to the bottom pairing on defense, which we did see last year, which was a much better spot for him. It doesn't really seem like he's ready for that spotlight yet, but when we're going into today's practice, that was the case. And when we did see what Fluto Shinzawa put out earlier, he was paired on that third line with Andrew Peeke, Hampus Lindholm back there with Henry Jokiharju, and Michael Callahan over Charlie McAvoy, or with Charlie McAvoy. And that being, right now, the case for Zadorov. He has not yet practiced today, or Elias Lindholm. Both are hurt, but both should be good from what we've been seeing for the next game. Moving Mason Lohrei down is the thing that they needed to do. And having this done was exactly what the Bruins here needed to do in this, at least this practice going into next game. And there's going to be changes that are going to be made, but as of right now, I'd be curious to see if anything on the defense were to be changed. And when you're looking at the AHL defense here, Jordan Asprot, Maximus Wanner, Frederick Burnett, Victor Soderstrom, Jackson Edward, and Billy Sweezy, I'd be curious to see if there's any sort of idea that if it does come down to it, one of these guys do get called up to the NHL to take over for Mason Lohrei in a game. And like we saw with Casey Middlestat, sitting one game worked. And if that does come down to Mason Lohrei, if he does start this game tomorrow on the third line, and it does come down to him having to sit a game, if he still continues to struggle, so be it. We have enough players to be able to fill out this roster. And I think right now, having Michael Callahan in the NHL is going to be given the best opportunity for the team and Marco Sturm to do that. Now, Marco Sturm also did have some more quotes. We do have a couple more here in this video. I kind of want to talk about how this all broke down to just the defense last game. He said, "We started really well. I thought we had a really good 10 or 12 minutes. I thought there was good energy on the bench. But again, we kicked ourselves with some bad shifts. And all of a sudden, those bad shifts unfortunately ended up in our net right now. I felt here we go again. So that was my thought process, just looking at my guys in front of me. And, Marco Sturm is a guy who, albeit, I'm sure he would love to be out there and be able to fix it, but he's doing what he can at this moment. Like he said with that quote, that he don't exactly have what it takes right now to fix it on this NHL roster. So he's working with what he's got, but at this point right now, I think what was something that should have been done a long time ago that happened in practice today was moving Mason Lohrei down. And that's going to be something I think we're going to have to see heading into next game and seeing how that does ultimately play out for this team, because he has been a very big, detrimental piece to this team thus far. And who knows whether or not, if he was on the first line, third line, if that would have changed the score for a few of these games and ultimately would have given the Bruins a better start to the season. But it's pretty evident that what we're seeing right now on the defensive side of things has not worked for this most recent game. Things need to change, and luckily, Marco Sturm has started that in today's practice. So we're going to be keeping you guys updated with all of that kind of stuff as it does come down to it. And ultimately, when we do go ahead here and get back to next game and seeing how things do change, kind of the way that this Bruins team is going. But we do have one more update here, and this was kind of regarding a move that was linked to the Bruins a little bit. Today, Canucks acquired Lukas Reichel from the Blackhawks for a 4th-round pick. Would have been something that if the Bruins had known that it was a 4th-round pick was the value, we've heard that it was a very low value for a guy like Lukas Reichel, if they would have been interested in going to get him. But ultimately, they didn't. I wonder if that's going to be the case going forward, if you do see any other names among kind of that category where they've been here a few years in the NHL, hasn't gotten to it, low trade value. I figured the Bruins would have jumped on something like this, but they have not. So that's something to keep an eye on here. But like I said, let me know what you think about this Bruins change that they made with Mason Lohrei jumping down to the third line. Been a long time coming, and luckily we have seen that here today. So let me know what you think that will change here in the comments below. But that's all I got. If you did enjoy, give it a like, hit the sub button as well. I'm signing out, though. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.